So I thought I'd make a video, kind of vent, kind of talk a little bit about a few things that I think is important for me to talk about. And I was just really wanting to chat because I was thinking about my experiences in high school. Tomorrow I got a meeting for the GED classes, and I'm going to see how that's going to go, and I'm going to talk to them, see what's going on, see what the plan is. And but I was thinking about my high school days, and when I look further back at the details of what I know now, 100,000%. The teachers and faculty thought that I was after my dad's money. That I was like some sort of scavenger, like of a hunt of just after his money and take advantage of this situation. And it bothers me a lot because I think to myself, a lot of the times in life, which is in some cases very true, you'll find hardcore thugs that are very loving and kind, much more better than many other people are when it comes to their family, and they just fit into this persona and agenda that people just label them as that. And I think I fit to the person. I smoked weed, I got in arguments with my mom, and I was skipping school, and at the time occasionally doing drugs. And the thing that bothers me the most about the situation is I remember, and I have all these flashbacks of how the teachers were and the faculty were behaving in such a persecuting way that they were immediately persecuting me. Like, oh yeah, here you go, here's your coupon. And just basically playing these acting roles and playing me stupid. I couldn't have been more of you couldn't find any more of an authentic, genuine person that equally wanted to divide everything and do as my father said from the beginning. Even though my father was in a nursing home and he didn't make a recovery until he made an incredible recovery about 2 years later after that suicide. I was about late 14 to 15 when he could really do a lot and remember a lot of things and still communicate just fine. Just couldn't take care of himself. And it bothers me a lot because I think how I was persecuted and I had done nothing wrong. It was because they didn't know the story. My dad was old and he had all this money. And I remember the teachers. I remember the teachers literally grabbing packets, like I'd be turning my homework or something, and then they grab it and go like this, like, yeah, thanks, Hector. And then I would hear like one of the coaches, or I'd hear one of the physical educational teachers talk about in the background, and I could hear, he goes, yeah, I got about $50,000. I got about, and so they don't think I'm paying attention. And so they always accuse, because remember, I'm a Mexican with a gay dad that isn't my biological father, with a load of money and a paid off house. And he's in a vulnerable situation, and they want to act like the hero. And nobody knows those stories. And it makes me think about like Frankie, of what he went through in his high school years and middle school and elementary. The persecution had to have been so awful, because the reason that Frankie was probably allowing so much of what was happening to him was because the teachers and everyone was justifying it and training him to move forward and keep doing it and just go along with it. So when other people started to rape my brother, then it began like, oh, okay, well, I just have to do this, and I just keep moving on, because the teachers and the police officers never wanted to do anything, and they all covered it up. And this was all based on Ken and Sarah Cooper attacking my mother at the nursing home when my dad committed suicide. I mean, he was literally like in his bed dying. It was horrific to watch how Sarah And she was referencing, Miguel and the dead little girl, my dead real sister, and it was nasty. And Frankie that was like when Frankie had to step his ground and said, "Get the fuck away from my mom." And I remember that. And Frankie was so young, and none of these things really matter anymore because the time and the money's gone, and they'll just figure out their excuses. There's no more hope. They know the routine. They know everything there is to know about everything. And but I think so much of what they were doing to me, because when they knew about this money, it was like red flags everywhere. It was like red flags everywhere. The teachers were like, "This kid is going to get a lot of money. This kid is going to be loaded with cash, and his dad is basically, it's a free coupon check." People get very jealous and angry knowing that someone so young is about to inherit over $50,000 of cash with two brothers and a mother that's from Mexico. And they want to make sure that they lead this to, it's the twins, it's I'm doing the angel work of Jesus Christ. Because let me tell you something, nobody knows this. Coach Burns, that was in that class, he goes, "Yeah, I'm a Christian." And he said this in the middle of class, and he was trying to behave like he meant it. And nobody knows this story. You got to understand that when I was around my father, it was like he was passing the baton to me. He was like passing the baton to me, and he was like telling me as a kid, like when I sat next to him, not only when he was just drinking beer, and my dad was not some old cookie guy cooped up in a corner of a fucking house, small house, just drinking beer and belligerently didn't know what the hell was going on. He wasn't just some guy, and he didn't drink all the time. And you got to understand that the way that my father processed the situation was very much like I had to honor his last rites of life. That's the way that he talked to me. That I had to honor his last rites of life that was going to be best, because he knew he couldn't trust any more of his family. And he was hoping that I could do that. And he wanted me to do that. And, he wasn't just a begging old man in a nursing home. And that's what, nobody knew that story. That's the thing is that when they bought my mother that house and gave the twins the money and all these situations, nobody knows that story. They don't care, because the first thing you have to do is you have to kill your target. When you kill your target and the time is gone, it does not matter you cannot go back anymore. That's the reason that they did it. They kill their target, they move on, because they get what they want. They point you right over to the coffin and cemetery, and it's like that. You cannot go back anymore and rearrange, because the money, the exchanges, the understanding, all that, it's like what happened to Frankie. So when they gave my mother and they gave these two, look, it's just the babies and the kids and all this other, no, we're just figuring out the stable of the house. That's all lies. They were exchanging that because they didn't want me to inherit the money, claiming it was for safety reasons, claiming it was for this, using the threatening of the police, because the police officers were responsible, especially when Ken showed up in his police uniform, and Frankie saw this in my mother. I couldn't express any more that even when the police officers showed up in Wheaton Fire Department, when we saw them over at Miguel's house, they were immediately displaying, "It's okay, he's one of our gays. He made a gay mistake. It's okay. We'll get him. Frank, we're gay." And that's exactly, it's an entire union. And it's so sad, because there's no straight people with the persecuting tool. There's no justice table for this. There isn't. And it bothers me, because I think that in some cases you do have to do what they did to me. but I could not have been more genuine as a person. The number one target as they wanted to take out was me, and they did. And it was because of the money. And it was so much money, so young, and having so much, and just exerting everything. My life could have been so much more different had it been, I've been 20 years old and explained these things. It doesn't change the fact, because people don't want you to have all these types of glories of, you're good looking, you have some dance moves, you're sharp, you're intelligent, you're musically inclined. All these great things. You have the high likely possibility of making twins, because I come from so many identical twins, mothers and siblings, that the likeliness of me having twins of kids, two twins, set of twins, is extremely likely. But you have all that taken away from you, and you really can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it, but I was thinking of my high school years of, how they were training me, because when you're doing that, they think that I was only up to wrong. When they only doubted me, they did not like the fact that they thought I was just some stranger fucking kid out in the streets, showing up in the house looking to get money from an old man. And that was not the case. Like, he was my mentor. He was like, would show me how to read. He would show me, how to write here and there. Like, he educated me. Like, when we went to the store, it wasn't just get you something to eat. It wasn't just giving money giving money to me. It was being a father, protecting and guiding. He was like, yeah, this is how you change the oil. He showed me how to change the oil, and he'd work on his car, and and I'd just sit there, and I'd always tag along with my dad, watching him fix the car and make tune-ups, get spark plugs and stuff like that. So all this is that they didn't understand the family, so it was better to suit them better to say I did the right thing. I got the money and it was for safety. No, it wasn't. It was all about race, and it was all about homosexuality, and it was all to cover up for rapes. That's all it was. They did not, it was greed. Selfish and greed. And they got away with it. They did. Not very many people get a chance in life to get that little money that young and at that magnitude. And the suffering that went along with that was just unbelievable. For me to not get anything at all, because I still had to work through it. Nobody knew about 11 homosexual rapes. Then I saved Frankie from 8 of them. 8. I walked home every day. You don't understand that when I'm around Frankie, I was always in this predatorial, like protective. He's my brother, nobody understood that or cared. And what did I get? Sleeping next to trash cans, nearly digging in trash, thinking I'm going to eat hot dogs and burgers inside a trash can. This is the next step I have to do, because this is how they have to degrade me. This is what I'm only worth now, because these homosexuals are doing all these crazy shit, and several other people are. Because the people that did this from the beginning, that took the money, took the house, and said, you go here, oh no. You just have to make a decision and move forward. No. And, if they went and spoke to my father, it was to go and poison him. Oh, you see, because there was, it's horrible, because people think they understand when a bisexual or homosexual man is raising a kid, and he never tells them that I'm not your biological father. They don't understand that not every single gay man is the same, like the way that they think to raise a kid, to be a man and raise a kid, not just pay the bills, but teach him, reading and going to soccer games, cheering. They don't care anything about that. And since I'm very young and I'm going to parties, smoking weed, and hanging around because I was hanging around some pretty bad people, not real bad people, but a few of my friends were breaking into people's houses all the time, just breaking into people's cars. all the time. I never did any of that. I never broken into nobody's car. I may have broken like one or two windows, I think maybe in my childhood. But these kids, I had a couple of them that were living in $350,000 houses, $400,000 houses, driving a Mercedes, and they were breaking in people's cars to steal bikes. I mean, it was wild. But I think about that. I think about my high school years, and I'm thinking there were so many predatory because they just didn't like the fact I was going to inherit this money, and they wanted to claim that they were doing it for the good. It doesn't change the fact that even if Frankie was perfectly good, that what I had done. And it doesn't change the fact that I know how Frankie was behaving at that time, because I was around him so much. You don't understand what he doesn't understand for himself, that I'm observing, that when he gets older, he's, oh, don't worry about it, I'm just going to give it to Kenneth. He's hip-hop in Madison. Everything gets wiped away. None of my family, we don't take nothing from these people. We don't take nothing from the Cooper family. We didn't get nothing from them. They just came and scavenged and rearranged because my dad. Nobody knows those stories. It was just, the ladies just taking care of the homosexual man. They don't know what my mother was doing. They didn't care. As long as they killed their targets and kept quiet, dwindled it away, and they feel the time is gone because you have no choice but to move forward, because death is certain, and that's why they do it. They think with the ideas of death. The idea is to steal and take, like a thief at night. And, honoring my father like a Japanese kid wanting to honor their grandpa and father ninja or something, was something like that, what I was trying to do, how I was kind of felt like I was needing to do for my father. And nobody knows those stories, It was so awful, like being persecuted and being in class and not understanding, because these homosexuals, I'm old enough now to understand the disgusting behavior as an adult, how the homosexuals persecuted and did this very homosexual persecutions toward the straight people, and very united with their gays and trans, and they were very gathered, and they're only for themselves. And they lie and betray and cheat this way. And I know that behavior as an adult, that how ruthless they were to the young kids, the young boys like myself, the teachers. When I'm walking down the hall, Coach Sullivan goes, and he goes kind of like, and he goes like this, and and I'm walking down the class, and I kind of like, but it's to scare you, and it's to show you. Yeah, Ken Cooper, yeah, see, the gays when he came, yeah. And I never had this guy for a teacher. I never had him for a coach. He was on the Rams. Richard Murphy said he was really cool with him. And this is a homosexual when I used to watch the teachers get all bonded with the gay boys. They figured out who was gay and who wasn't. And then they would bond with one another. And I'd see Richard, and I'd see them like, yeah, like one of us, like gays, we win shit. And that's the way that they think and are. Obviously, things change later down the road, but you got to understand that behavior doesn't exist. Preference of sexuality, maybe with race at times or something else, but not hidden sexuality like it does with all people. But there's no straight bond. There's no such thing as any straight code towards straight man. There's no such thing at all for that. No empathy for this shit at all. But I thought I'd make a video on that because I did. There's so many people against me that poisons you and trains you, and they do it for that reason, because they know that if they can get you to make bad decisions and persecute before anything, that's it. And it's just because if they have to go to work 8 hours a day and be a teacher, or they have to go 8 hours and they didn't get it in life, why should I let you get it? And you're just a straight guy. You're just going in. Let's take a look at what gays he has around him. Oh, okay. It's just like they don't understand. They did not know who that old man was and how he really behaved and who he was. They didn't. They thought he was just some old gook in a corner of a room, quiet and just. Wanted just finding old dandy gay guy, just giving money out and taking care of the kids. That's it. It wasn't any. It wasn't none of that. After my dad's suicide, then I had to take care of him nearly just as many years as he took care of me, if not more, because my mom raised me as an infant. At 3-4 years old. So I, from 5 to 12 years old is probably a rational understanding. 4 years old to 12 years old, that's about 8 years. So I took care of him just as much as he took care of me, but I took more responsibility with no payout, and it went to someone else. And remember, the fame of Michael Jackson didn't go to me. It never did. Only the harmful shit did in my family.